And as you can see, I've already started taking the stereo apart. This piece just pops off. 4 screws. This is what I'm going to be installing. It's Pioneer AVH-X2800BS. Simple little DVD player. I don't like the Furion. It doesn't sound well to me. So, I'm going to go for an upgrade. With the Pioneers, you're going to need a bypass. Just a little micro bypass. I got this one off Amazon for $15, I believe. A lot of these DVD players, you don't need a bypass. Just take the parking brake wire and ground it straight to the chassis of the stereo. But with the Pioneers, they have a relay in them where before your DVD player will work, it needs to see power to the parking brake. It needs to, or ground needs to have a pulse on, off, on before it'll kick your DVD player on. So that's why the micro bypass for the Pioneers. And make sure, if you're going to get one, make sure you get one that is compatible with the AVHs. I'm going to do a little bit of work, then I'll update. Alright. Pulling the Furion deck out is not that difficult. Like I said, you had the 4 screws on there. Here's the back of the head unit. The only things that were plugged in, you've got these 2 plugs here, which there's 2 little clips on the side. You just push those in, pull out. And then, of course, your RCA cables, and then your HDMI, and your antenna. Okay? Apparently, this Furion has an auxiliary jack in the back also, and extra RCA outs. Here's the HDMI, the RCAs, the antenna, and then the 2 plugs. Alright, now here's the Pioneer, which comes with a remote, a USB extension cable, which I'm not going to use that because I've got a piece on order that should be here today that is a USB and an auxiliary extension that comes in a round port, and I can just drill a hole and put it somewhere up here where I can still have access to it, or I can drill it and put it on the bottom. Either way, I can drill it, put it on the bottom right there, or I can put it inside the cabinet, just anywhere I want to put it. If it gets here, I'll show the installation a bit. On the Pioneer, there's the plug for it, instructions, miscellaneous screws, Alright, there's the Pioneer head unit. Now, if you hadn't noticed, there's already one issue. But that's an easy fix. Alright, this is the piece that the Furion unit was installed into. I'm going to replace it with a different piece of board. Probably going to replace that top one also. Something a little bit thicker, a little bit sturdier, maybe just a small piece of 1/4 inch plywood that I cut out. And then there's this mess. You see all these wires and stuff. I'm going to reorganize this, and apparently this was supposed to be connected to some ground, I'm assuming. So I'm going to clean all this up and then I'll get back. Alright, this is all the wiring that it's going to go to the radio. I had to do a little cleaning up of wiring. For some reason they give you an extra 6 feet of coax. So I'm going to shorten that. And then there was also, I don't know if I can get the camera down in here, some extra wires. There were extra wires that had no use for the stereo, so I just tucked them under here with all the rest of the wires. Also, I knocked out the top plate up here because I'm going to make a whole entire new board that'll cover the whole thing. Alright, these are all of your speaker wires here. These gray and the white wire are going to be the ones that are inside here. The purple and the green are going to be your outside speakers. Then the white wire is going to be your ground. And then the gray wire, which they have ample supply, is going to be your power. I took off the butt connectors that they had like this, and I'm going to cut and solder and tape up the connections, make them a little bit better. Alright, like I was saying, I've got a Pioneer deck which needs the bypass to make the DVD player and have access to other functions. I know some Kenwoods, all you got to do is just ground this green wire, just attach it to the anywhere on the chassis of any other unit. As far as like I said with Pioneer, it requires either a bypass, or you can also take a switch, but you have to turn it on, off, on, and you just put it in the parking wire. Basically what I'm going to do is pretty simple. Green, black, blue. Green goes to your parking wire, your emergency brake, not one of your speakers. The black, of course, ground, and the blue is going to go to your system remote. Okay. Also, your amp, if you've got an amp, which I'll install later, you can just tie into this one also. I'm going to solder it and show you what it looks like. Alright. Bypass. Just wired it in line with my ground. Now I'm going to tape this all together so that way it's easy to handle and manage and doesn't look like a rat's nest the way Jayco left it. Alright, I've just got it temporarily hooked up right now. Just make sure everything's working. There's the bypass taped up, good to go. Got the ground over there. Of course, like I said, I'm just tapped in here temporarily just to make sure the deck works. And the deck works. Power's up. It's in demo mode right now. But put a DVD in it to make sure that the bypass works. And there you go. Alright, UPS came in, so this is the auxiliary and USB extension that I got. Basically, plug your aux into the back there, and your USB goes over here. And then drill a hole wherever you want it, and then you can plug in your USB and your auxiliary there instead of having to run a cord and having just a cord dangling out. Alright, here's a little update. Stereo is done, installed, new panel is done. Also, I cleaned up the wires quite a bit. It's kind of hard to see with this, with the lighting in here. But I still have some excess wire, but it is taped up a little bit easier that if I pull the deck out, that I wouldn't have any issues. I shortened about 6 foot off the coaxial cable. Now I'm working on the speakers. Also, I installed a USB and auxiliary extension, basically, because the only plugs that they have for the stereo are in the back. Which, you've got your USB cable, kind of hard to see right there, and I just ran it down so I can connect to it outside of having the cabinet and everything open. Most all of the wiring, the excess wiring, is ran underneath this panel. For those of you that don't know, shoved some of it, the excess, under there, and then this panel right here will go back up here in place once I get ready to get all completed. Covers everything back up. But now onto the speakers.